Hi, Lindsay here. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that bell up top for those notifications. So today I'm going to be making a copycat version of the Olive Garden Italian Zuppa Tuscana. So I have some kale right here, some mild Italian sausage, 4 cups of chicken broth. I need 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. I have some cloves of garlic, my russet potatoes, an onion, flour, salt and pepper, and some shredded Parmesan cheese. I also have some whole milk. We're gonna go ahead and get started. So I have my saucepan that I'm going to turn on to a medium high heat. I have my Italian sausage that I'm going to brown with some sliced up onion and some garlic. So we'll set that in there. Then I've already prepped my garlic and my onion. Okay, I've went ahead and prepped all of my vegetables. So I have my potatoes and everything already thinly sliced. And I've chopped up that whole entire onion. I have the sausage, the Italian sausage, in my saucepan right now on a medium-high heat. I'm going to brown it and add in the onion. I have some chopped up garlic, coarsely chopped. I love the texture. So we're going to put that in there and we're going to season it with some salt and pepper. And I apologize for not being home for the last month and a half. I've been out of town visiting family in Texas and in Utah. So now that I'm back, I will be uploading my videos. So we're just gonna continue to let this cook until it browns, just like you would ground beef, and let the garlic and the onion get nice and sauteed with the sausage. I am browning my Italian sausage. We're just gonna use a wooden spoon or whatever spatula you have and smash that up into smaller pieces, just like you would do if you were browning some ground beef. We don't want large chunks, so we're just going to make sure we're breaking it down while we're letting it brown. There's not going to be a whole lot of grease to strain off of this, but there will be some that does need to be strained off prior to adding in our 2 tablespoons of flour. Our sausage is about done. Just going to let it cook thorough. Smashing up any larger pieces that you might see throughout. Just strained the grease off and returned it to the same pan. One thing that's awesome about this recipe is you cook everything in the same pan, so it's a super easy cleanup, and it's a pretty healthy choice for your family also. So now I'm gonna let this, get back warm in the pan for a minute, and I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of flour. So I have some flour right here. I'm just going to put in 2 tablespoons. And we're going to coat that around on the meat, just like you would do if you were making homemade sausage gravy. So let's coat that really well. And the reason you do this is so when you add in the liquids that it doesn't get clumpy. So that's really nice and incorporate it. Now we're going to take our 4 cups of chicken stock. This is what I have. And we're going to dump that in, stirring as you add it, so any flour that comes off of the meat doesn't make your liquid get clumpy. So just keep stirring it. Make sure that no flour's clumping up in there. And just continue to dump it. 4 cups. Okay, mix that around really well. Now that we have our 4 cups of chicken broth in there, we're gonna add in 3 cups of whole milk, and we're gonna continue to stir. You want the flour to thicken the liquid, not get clumpy, so you have to pour this in slowly. So I have 3 cups of whole milk, and I'm going to slowly pour it into the chicken broth mixture. You don't want the milk to stick, so continue to stir it. Pour it in really slow because this is cold liquid. You don't want it to mix with the hot and make that flour start to clump. So I'm just pouring it very slowly. And then you're gonna stir that around. Let it kind of simmer for a minute. Then you're gonna take your russet potatoes that you have set aside. You've thinly sliced. They've already been washed. And you're going to put the potatoes into this liquid to allow them to have an opportunity to soften before you add in your kale. So I have my russet potatoes. I'm going to put into this mixture. Let these have an opportunity to soften. You can add in red pepper flakes also if you'd like a little bit of heat. I'm making this for my family, so I'm leaving it out. I'll add it into my bowl separately just for some added flavor, but my kids aren't a big fan of the spice, so we'll just omit that. Mix those potatoes around. We're gonna let this simmer for a bit and let those soften before we add in any other ingredients. So we're allowing our potatoes to simmer and get nice and tender. We've turned our heat down to a medium-low, and we're gonna let these cook for probably about 20 minutes till you can take a fork and it's tender. Then you'll gently add in your 2 cups of heavy cream because the potatoes will be tender at that point, so you don't wanna be really rough or vigorous or they'll just kind of fall apart. And then you'll add in your kale and your Parmesan cheese as well. I'll show you that next step after the potatoes cook. In the meantime, I'll show you how to prep the kale. Okay, so I've already washed the kale. I'm gonna show you guys how to prep it. This step's important because kale does have a big stem that runs along it, and you don't want anyone to bite into the soup and get that giant stem. So what you're going to do is take the leaf. It's easier to see it from the back side, and you're just gonna cut the greens off of that stem on both sides. Just go all the way up and then just kind of chop that off. And then you're going to just kind of chop it into smaller pieces that are bite-sized. Okay, so here's my kale. I've cut into these small little bite-sized pieces. I'm gonna place this aside. Now our potatoes are nice and tender, so the next step is gonna be to take that kale that we already prepped, and we're gonna add the kale into there and stir it around. I have my shredded Parmesan, and I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of that. Leave the rest to the side to garnish with in case people want additional. And again, gently fold that into the soup to not break your potatoes. You want those to stay nice and whole. The soup looks so beautiful. And we're going to let that kale continue to cook a bit. Okay, here you have the finished product. A healthy, nutritious, quick family meal. You can add bacon if you'd like. I left bacon out. I'm serving mine with some breadsticks and salad, super simple.